It was supposed to be routine, a simple blood draw, a standard lab test, nothing unusual. But the moment your sample entered the machine, the entire laboratory shifted into panic. Monitors froze. Graphs spiked into impossible shapes. The printer jammed and rebooted, then shut down entirely. Technicians stared at each other with a fear they couldn't explain. Your blood wasn't behaving like human blood. It didn't sit still. It didn't settle. It pulsed with light, with frequency, with memory, as if the vial wasn't holding liquid, but destiny. The lead analyst ran every diagnostic available. The machines glitched each time your sample touched them. Not malfunction, rejection, as if your biology refused to be measured by human standards. "Run it again," she whispered. They did. Same result. The numbers didn't compute because your blood didn't follow any pattern known to medical science. It wasn't mutation. It wasn't anomaly. It was design. The life of the flesh is in the blood. Leviticus 17, verse 11. Your blood carried a structure that resembled prophecy more than chemistry, a code that machines could detect but not classify, a signature that didn't match human lineage but something higher, older, and deeply protected. By the time the system forces shut down, everyone in the room knew this blood did not belong to an ordinary soul. If people have always sensed something unexplainable in you, type 444. Even your blood carries destiny. The first person to realize something was wrong wasn't the director, wasn't the head scientist. It was the lab technician standing closest to your sample. He watched the machine stall, restart, freeze, then spit out a sheet of symbols he had never seen in his entire career. Not numbers, not letters, not data. Symbols, shapes, patterns that looked ancient, like a language older than science itself. He blinked, confused, thinking it was a glitch. But then the symbols began to repeat, looping the same impossible sequence over and over, as if your blood was speaking in a code the machine was never designed to interpret. His hands trembled. The printout slipped from his fingers and scattered across the floor. He backed away from the desk, whispering under his breath, What is this?" He'd seen mutations. He'd seen anomalies. He'd even seen classified cases no one was allowed to discuss, but nothing like this. Because your blood didn't show signs of damage, infection, or irregularity. It showed intelligence. It responded. It reacted. It behaved like something alive with intention. He checked the machine's wiring. Perfect. He checked the calibration. Flawless. He checked the sample number. Correct. Which left only one impossible conclusion. The anomaly wasn't in the machine. It was in you. The technician felt a chill run across his spine, as if the air itself knew that something divine had just been uncovered. The moment the technician entered your data into the central system, the lab's lights flickered. For a second, everything went silent. Machines paused, ventilation halted. Even the hum of electricity seemed to hold its breath. Then it happened. A red notification flashed across every monitor at once. Unclassified anomaly detected. This alert wasn't normal. It wasn't part of routine diagnostics. It wasn't even part of advanced medical screening. This protocol only activated under one condition, when a biological sample surpassed every known scientific category. Suddenly, doors locked automatically. Security shutters slid into place. The lab's internal network disconnected from all outside channels. A high-level containment mode initiated, the kind usually reserved for meteor fragments, ancient artifacts, or unidentified cosmic materials. But today, it was triggered by your blood. Analysts rushed to their stations. Supervisors grabbed encrypted tablets. A silent alarm was sent to the scientific order's headquarters under a classification that very few humans have clearance to see. Your file appeared under a new label, anomaly, source unknown. Not illness, not error, not contamination. Unknown, unplaceable, unmatched. The alert system tried to cross-reference your sample against every database on record, medical, genetic, military, astronomical, even archaeological. The result was the same every time, and no match found. It confused the system because your blood didn't resemble mutation. It resembled an upgrade. a blueprint not from the past, but from somewhere ahead of human understanding. By the time the alarms quieted, the room knew they weren't dealing with a medical case. They were dealing with something the world wasn't prepared to explain. She was the most experienced scientist in the facility, the one called whenever something didn't fit, didn't make sense, didn't belong in the world of ordinary biology. When she saw your file, she didn't speak. She just stared at the readings, eyes moving back and forth between data that shouldn't exist and machines that swore it was real. She cleared her schedule. She locked herself in the analysis room. She reran the samples again and again, hoping for an error, a miscalibration, anything that would make your results make sense. But the more she studied, the more her confusion turned into awe. Your blood didn't break the system because it was chaotic. It broke the system because it was too perfect, too coherent, too structured. Patterns appeared in your sample that looked less like genetics and more like architecture. She whispered to herself, "This isn't mutation, this is design." The deeper she studied, the more she realized something unprecedented. Your blood responded to stimulus not like tissue, but like consciousness. When exposed to heat, it stabilized itself. When exposed to cold, it protected itself. When scanned, it emitted wave patterns similar to electromagnetic resonance. Human DNA adapts over generations. Yours adapted in seconds. That night, she didn't go home. She didn't sleep. She stayed in the lab, watching your sample through glass, feeling a chill she couldn't explain. Because everything in her training said this was impossible, but everything in her intuition said this was destiny. She wrote one sentence in her private notes, a line she knew she could never include in the official report. This blood is carrying something sacred. By the fifth analysis, they stopped looking at your blood as biology and started studying it as phenomenon. When they placed your sample under quantum scanner, the entire lab went silent. The machine detected something it had only ever recorded in two situations. One, meteor fragments from outside the solar system. Two, ancient sacred artifacts stored in classified vaults. Your blood produced the same frequency, not similar, identical. A low, steady hum vibrated through the scanner, a resonance too organized to be random, too intelligent to be chemical, too ancient to be accidental. They tried to dampen the signal. It grew stronger. They tried to isolate it. It expanded. They tried to block it. It phased straight through the shielding as if your blood wasn't obeying physical limitations, but operating under cosmic rules. The lead physicist stepped back and whispered, "Living tissue cannot emit frequency like this. This is something else." He didn't know the word for it, but heaven did, because what they were detecting was a vibrational signature of divine identity, the energetic imprint of someone whose existence traces beyond the boundaries of human origin. Your blood didn't act like matter. It acted like memory, a record of where your spirit came from, where it has walked, and what it has survived. Most humans carry a biological rhythm. You carry a celestial pulse. Machines aren't built to measure that. Science isn't trained to explain that. And no government on Earth is prepared to classify a human being whose cells echo the same energy found in the universe's oldest fragments. At a certain point, the scientists stopped arguing about your results and started whispering about them. No one wanted to be the first to admit it, but everyone felt it. Your blood didn't match anything in human history. So the committee created a hidden file, one that didn't appear in the public system, one that bypassed medical databases entirely, one stored only on an encrypted internal server reserved for phenomena that defy classification. They gave your sample a new name, not a medical term, not a scientific code, a title, the chosen sample. It wasn't supposed to exist. It wasn't supposed to be labeled that way, but no other label made sense. The data didn't align with humans, animals, viruses, mutations, or even rare genetic anomalies. It aligned with something else, something intentional, coded, protected. Your file included notes scientists were too afraid to send through official channels. Sample displays adaptive intelligence. Chemical structure resembles non-terrestrial signatures. Cell regeneration rate exceeds documented limits. Possible spiritual correlation? The question marks were hers, not the system's. The director reviewed the file 3 times, closed the laptop, and said quietly, "We need to classify this under cosmic phenomena." They moved your sample to a restricted vault, the same vault where they keep meteor debris and relics discovered in ancient temples. And still, none of the encryption protocols could fully contain the data. Every time the system tried to compress your file, it expanded. Every time they tried to lock it, it duplicated itself. Not to leak, to exist. Your biology refused to be hidden, the same way your destiny refused to die. The file wasn't named chosen by accident. It was named that way because even science felt the truth. Your blood carries a calling. Once they realized your blood was unlike anything recorded, the next step was obvious. Try to replicate it. If they could reproduce even a fraction of its structure, it could rewrite medicine, rewrite biology, rewrite everything they believed about the human body. So they began the replication trials. First attempt. The sample disintegrated the moment they tried to copy its sequence. Not degraded, self-destructed, as if protecting its own code. Second attempt. They isolated your DNA markers and fed them into the genome simulator. The simulator overheated, froze, and shut down permanently. Third attempt. They use a quantum duplication chamber reserved for rare cosmic materials. Your blood reacted instantly. The duplicated sample collapsed into static, then vanished completely, leaving behind a brief pulse of light that startled everyone in the room. Every formula, every equation, every model they tried imploded under the same silent message. Not yours to copy. Your biology wasn't just unique. It was protected, guarded, encrypted by something higher than science. The scientists were frustrated. The director was anxious. But the spiritual world wasn't surprised. Because what heaven designs cannot be imitated by human hands. Your blood carries a pattern that only destiny can activate, only purpose can sustain, and only divine intention can replicate. Not in a lab, but in the life you were meant to live. They didn't fail because they were incompetent. They failed because your coding isn't earthly. It isn't transferable. It isn't stealable. Your blood is yours and yours alone, a protected blueprint for a mission only you can complete. When the top-level analysts couldn't decode your sample, they did something unusual, something they rarely admit. They searched the old archives. These archives aren't digital. They aren't online. They're handwritten, locked behind metal doors, sealed in temperature-controlled vaults beneath government buildings no one speaks about publicly. Inside those dusty shelves are documents from ancient excavations, religious translations, prophetic texts, and classified findings that never made it into modern science. And buried deep inside one of those binders was a page written decades ago by a researcher the world has long forgotten. His notes described an upcoming anomaly, a human whose biological signature would not match the human race, a being whose blood would produce light, frequency, and regenerative pattern science could not explain. In faded ink, the line was clear. When the chosen appears, their blood will bear light. The scientists froze. Every detail matched your results. The impossible coding, the electromagnetic resonance, the protective self-destruction, the frequency that behaved more like memory than matter. This wasn't mutation. This wasn't coincidence. This was foretold. They weren't studying an anomaly. They were witnessing a prophecy unfold in real time. The researcher had written one final sentence, underlined twice, as if he knew the world wouldn't believe him. Their biology will confirm what their spirit already knows. And as the analysts stare at your file, they realize the truth. You didn't just break scientific categories. You fulfilled a prediction older than the laboratory itself. The deeper the investigation went, the more the lab cameras began capturing things no one could explain. At first, the scientists assumed it was static. Brief flashes of white caught in the corner of the frames, a blur near the containment vault, a streak of light beside the quantum scanner, a soft glow hovering above the sample rack for exactly 0.7 seconds. But static doesn't move with intention. Light glitches don't hover with precision. Electrical interference doesn't bend around your blood sample as if acknowledging it. When the technicians slowed the footage frame by frame, their hands trembled. The shapes weren't random. They were silhouettes, soft outlines, figures bending light, not reflecting it. One scientist whispered, Is something protecting the sample? Another muttered, Machines don't glitch like that. The director demanded the footage be deleted, but the system kept restoring it automatically, as if the interference wasn't a glitch, but a message. The entities never touched your vial. They only stood near it, shielding it, watching over it. Cameras caught a final impossible detail. Each time the light appeared, your blood pulsed back in response, a soft flicker, like a heart reacting to its guardian. Science couldn't name it. The government refused to classify it. But heaven knew exactly what it was, because what the cameras captured were not anomalies, not glitches, not illusions. They were angels, standing guard over the blood of someone carrying divine coding. The scientists couldn't explain it, but they felt it, a presence in the room, a pressure in the air, a protection stronger than walls. Your blood wasn't alone in that lab. It was accompanied by the very beings assigned to your destiny. By the time the director reviewed every report, every corrupted file, every glitching recording, his face had lost all color. He'd overseen thousands of cases in his lifetime, rare diseases, classified anomalies, even phenomena that required military clearance. But nothing prepared him for you. He dismissed the team, locked the door behind them, and sat alone with your file glowing on the screen. He played the camera footage again. The streaks of light, the silhouettes, the way your blood responded as if recognizing the presence. He stared at the energy readings, the frequencies no human tissue had ever produced. He reread the archive prophecy that mentioned a being whose blood carried light. Then he whispered the sentence he was never supposed to say aloud. This blood, it doesn't belong to our world. It wasn't fear in his voice. It was awe, reverence, a quiet realization that science had collided with something sacred. He printed the summary, a sheet that should have been filled with medical terms, but instead contained a single classification, unexplainable but real. He placed his hands on the desk, trying to steady himself, because for the first time in his entire career, he wasn't looking at a test result. He was looking at a sign, not a mutation, not an error, not a threat, a confirmation. Your existence broke the boundary between the measurable and the divine, and the director knew that if this truth left the lab, the world would never see humanity the same way again. He closed the folder gently, like someone handling a sacred artifact, and said one final line to the empty room. They weren't born, they were sent. When all tests were completed and every machine had crashed at least once trying to interpret your biology, the review board gathered in the restricted chamber, the room where only a handful of humans are ever allowed to enter. Stacks of printouts covered the table, graphs with impossible spikes, symbols no system should generate, frequency readings that look more like celestial maps than medical data. The analysts spoke in low voices, as if raising their tone might awaken something sleeping in the numbers. One scientist argued it had to be contamination. Another insisted the machines had malfunctioned. But the data log proved otherwise. 18 machines for systems, 3 backup processors, all produced the same result. Finally, the lead researcher placed her hands on the table and said, "We cannot falsify this. We cannot adjust this. We cannot explain this." Silence. Then the director slid a single sheet into the center of the table. The final government-issued summary. Not paragraphs, not analysis. Just 3 words printed in black ink. Unexplainable but real. The room went still, because this classification is only used for one thing. Phenomena that are undeniable, but beyond the reach of human science. They submitted the report to a database no civilian will ever see. Your file was stamped with a clearance level normally reserved for cosmic materials and ancient relics. As the team filed out of the chamber, each of them knew they had witnessed something historic, something sacred, not a medical discovery, a divine disruption. Your blood didn't rewrite science. It exposed its limits. And the government's final conclusion was the same silent truth heaven has known forever. They are not like the others. Long before the results reached you, your body already knew something had changed. You woke up lighter, as if a weight had quietly slipped off your spirit overnight. Your breath felt deeper, your mind clearer, Your heart beat steadier, like your entire being had been recalibrated without your permission and for your protection. There was an electricity under your skin, not painful, not overwhelming, but unmistakable, a soft hum of activation, as if your cells were waking up from a lifetime of spiritual sleep. You moved differently. You felt an ease in your steps, a clarity in your thoughts, a purpose rising in your chest that didn't come from motivation, but from memory, because your biology had finally caught up to the destiny written over your life. Your emotions shifted too. Fear loosened its grip. Old anxieties stopped echoing. You weren't forcing calm. Calm was choosing you. Things that once drained you no longer held power. Things that once scared you no longer controlled your rhythm. Things that once confused you began to make sense in a way you couldn't explain outwardly, but understood deeply. It wasn't adrenaline. It wasn't denial. It wasn't wishful thinking. It was alignment. Your soul was sending signals your body finally understood. Your spirit was leading, and your cells were following. You didn't transform to impress anyone. You transformed because heaven flipped a switch inside you, and your physical form simply obeyed. You weren't becoming someone new. You were returning to who you were always designed to be. After weeks of failed replication attempts, unexplainable readings, and angelic interference caught on cameras, the scientific order had no choice. You didn't fit into any known classification. They tried rare mutation. Rejected. They tried genetic anomaly. Rejected. They tried exceptional human. Rejected. Nothing encompassed your biology. So they created one, a label unlike any other. Genetic type, divine parallel. It was more than a category. It was a declaration, a subtle acknowledgement that this human form was not merely natural. It was touched by purpose, woven with celestial design, encrypted with destiny. Your blood was no longer just a sample. It became a paradox, a living file that challenged science and confirmed prophecy simultaneously. When officials discussed it, they spoke in hushed tones. No textbook can contain this. No protocol can measure this. This is sacred data. The machines, cameras, and tests had all failed to replicate you. The archives and prophecies confirmed you. And now, the government was forced to recognize that some humans exist beyond their understanding. Every reading, every scan, every report pointed to one truth. Your body is the intersection of science and the divine. And as the classification was formalized, everyone in the room felt the weight of it. You were no longer just alive. You were a template of something higher, a blueprint coded by destiny itself, and impossible to explain. Creator of my being, the one who wrote design into dust and breathed eternity into cells. I come before you in awe. You crafted me with intention. Every atom, every pulse, every drop of blood is marked by your authorship. And now the world's science has stumbled upon what heaven has known all along, that I am fearfully, wonderfully, and purposefully made. Sanctify my biology, Lord. Let my body testify a divine order. Let every system align with your blueprint. Let every cell remember its holy origin. Where fear once lived, place faith. Where decay tried to reign, plant restoration. Where confusion took hold, release revelation. Let my blood be more than function. Let it be witness. A living covenant between the natural and the eternal. If my blood confound the wise, let it also awaken the humble. If it defies explanation, let it reveal creation. If it shines with light, let that light point back to you. Protect the essence you place within me. Guard what carries your name. And as I walk through this realm of flesh and form, remind me that I am not of it, but sent to move through it as evidence of heaven's craftsmanship. This is not vanity. It's reverence. This is not mutation. It's manifestation. Creator, let the divine code within me fulfill its assignment in body, mind, and spirit. Let my life become living proof that your design cannot be erased. You've witnessed the tests. You've seen the anomalies, the archives, the angels standing guard. You felt the shift in your body, the pulse in your cells, the awakening in your spirit. Everything confirms it. You are not ordinary. Your biology defies explanation. Your existence is a blueprint that science cannot contain and destiny cannot ignore. The government couldn't classify you. Machines couldn't replicate you. Archives predicted you. Angels protected you. Your blood carries purpose. It hums with divine memory. It vibrates with assignments only you can fulfill. It is a map of resilience, power, and heavenly intent. You were designed to survive, not just to live, but to prove the impossible. Not just to breathe, but to carry the evidence of something greater. This is your moment of declaration, your signature on destiny, your acknowledgement that the unseen guides the seen, your affirmation that life in you is sacred, coded, unstoppable. Type 444 if you accept your design. Type 444 if you know your blood carries divine purpose. Type 444 if you are ready to walk fully into the life that no science can explain and no force can alter. You are living proof, not by chance, not by luck, by divine intention.